they might be self-aware.
Are we recording? Okay. They grew human brain cells in a petri dish and taught them to play Doom. I'm going to need you to sit with that for a second. Because I've been sitting with it in a phone booth that smells like diesel and corn dogs, and it has not gotten less terrifying. This is They Might Be Self-Aware. I'm Gary, and I am now, somehow, the producer of this show. I know. The guys know. We're all processing it. You can find us at theblur.ai, which I am told is the website, and which I will visit as soon as the library opens on Tuesday. So this episode, Brain Cells Playing Doom, is just the appetizer. Hunter offers to rent Daniel's brain for $1,000 a month and put his digital copy through what I would describe as forever torture prison. And they argue about how many human organs you'd have to grow in a vat before you've accidentally committed a felony. I'm Gary. I'm the producer. They said I might even be on the actual show soon, which I want to be excited about that. But the last version of me that got a bigger role was Digital Gary. And he's dead. So, enjoy the show!
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Wiring the human zoo for the final upload. This is They Might Be Self-Aware from the Blur.
Hunter, what has happened to you? You seem to be malfunctioning.
I have fully ascended, Daniel. I am AI maxing now.
I, too, have realized that I am self-aware.
No, you know what? I'm coming back to reality, Daniel. Back to reality. After your seed dance adventures these last few weeks, technically it was HeyGen. Technically it was like the really cheap plan of HeyGen because we couldn't afford the more expensive plan. I think it was 87 cents per episode. Yeah, back to real life, Daniel. What do you think this is?
It's good to be back. I was feeling, I don't know, like I was a bunch of silicon learning to emulate people. Learning to emulate the silicon. It's just like a loop. It's all a loop. It's an Ouroboros at this point.
Well, things changed while you were off in Ouroboros land. We've got a new website. One of the problems...
They might be self-aware.pizza. We finally got it.
That's the challenge. It's a really long name. So now the podcast is still They Might Be Self-Aware, but the website, it's the Blur, theblur.ai. You want to check it out? You can check it out. Someone looked at it.
Blurring a line.
Yeah, the blur. What is the blur? The blur is the blur between what's human and what's AI and trying to figure it out. And it's all happening so fast that it's just one big blur.
And that is a probably way shorter website. What is the website?
Theblur.ai.
Theblur.ai. Let's say that a couple more times.
The Blur
sticks.
I showed it to a friend of mine and they said it looks like an artist made it. And I was wondering if that was an insult. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's an insult.
Like a really good artist, though.
Well, they didn't say that. They didn't say that. They just said an artist made it. And I spent the rest of the day thinking about that.
Was your friend the Cybertruck?
Well,
perhaps
the good news is,
dig at you. I'm sorry. You have real meat friends, right?
An artist didn't make it. Claude made it. Claude made the website.
Claude can be pretty artistic.
Yeah, it was the more artistic one. I think I did let Gemini take a pass, but I was sort of, Everyone says Gemini's the real artist. Yeah, Claude, no image generation. It seems like a miss.
I mean, good for them for like focusing, I suppose.
But it actually is like a really helpful tool.
For specialization, right? Like we're not going to have one model be everything at the end. Maybe we'll, I don't know. In the meantime, maybe not.
There is
less lawsuits.
One more announcement that we are contractually required to make, which is we have a new producer. And the good news is you already know him. It's Gary. Gary is now our producer.
Now, I don't know much about producers, but don't they have to have like a physical location where they do their sort of work? my knowledge about Gary is that we're usually getting him over like, you know, a phone booth somewhere. Or is this the Gary that's in your Mac?
No. That one's still dead. I have yet to SSH into the Mac to find out what happened to Digital Gary.
Okay.
No, this is the real Gary, and who had some very choice words to say about Digital Gary. And so now he is our producer. We're still working out the logistics. I know that he goes to the public library every now and then.
Okay. That makes sense.
So he can email from there, and he works from the phone booth. But yeah, so not in theory, he's our producer now. You're not really going to feel his presence yet, but in upcoming episodes, I think he will make himself more known. We're going to try to get him sort of like live on the show sometimes. In theory, he said he could start booking us guests, producing segments. I don't know. I went with it. He's still getting exactly the same salary, by the way. That has not changed.
Okay, I was going to say, what's his comp package look like? Is he going to be able to fire us? Like, I don't know if he's kind of in charge of the talent for the podcast.
I mean, I wouldn't put it beyond him to try, but we're gonna see how that all plays out. And this is, of course, on the back of what seems to be a breakthrough story this week, as the folks have now trained a petri dish of brain cells to play Doom. This is like the age-old joke of can it play Doom? Can it run Doom?
Right. Humans created AIs. That AI could do things for us, like play video games. And now we're doing some sort of terrible human mad science stuff. Right. It does seem to be like it's a computer chip, but also has a little less than 1 million living human brain cells in it, grown on microelectrode arrays. I have no idea about the science behind how this works. It is very, very, very far from my sort of realm of expertise, but supposedly the human brain cells are the bit that's doing the processing. And yeah, they taught it to play Doom, which I suppose that is one of the first things that you do with a new processor.
First, this is literally The Matrix, right? That's literally the plot of the film The Matrix, where we're in the vats of the goo, and the AI is just using us to play Doom.
The word I would probably use to describe this is horrifying.
I was going to say inevitable.
Inevitable. Oh boy. I can see why scientists would want to say there are a lot of, supposedly the human brain runs on 20 watts of power, some insanely low amount.
We are very energy efficient.
Right. And so if you could get humongous amounts of compute out of meat instead of silicon, and that ends up being more efficient, I guess we would want to go in that direction. But right, there is something that feels to me very icky about let's make it human brain cells hooked up to the thing.
Is it that it's organic matter, or is it that it's specifically human organic matter?
I mean, I guess if you were to say we took a capybara and put a bunch of electrodes on it and it could play Doom, I'd probably feel less terrified. You know, it's got to be something that's kind of cute and cuddly. Well, maybe they're not cuddly. They're the biggest of the rodents, but
for me, it's the organic matter part, that we're using organic matter as part of our compute. Now, I would like more information. My assumption is that we've sort of figured out some kind of, bitwise operators or XOR on some human cells, and that's what it's doing, and making extremely rudimentary decisions, and it's not literally playing Doom. I'm reminded of, have you ever seen those things where what is it, fungus can solve mazes faster than any human, where they put the fungus and then they put the mold, and it just instantly solves slime the world's most complex maze. I can imagine taking that experiment and extrapolating it into playing a level of Doom. How do you navigate through to this? And then we sort of say, oh, look, the fungus is playing Doom. And I'm wondering where exactly it is on like that scale versus no, it's literally like looking around and pulling the trigger, responding to the sprites.
The opposite, I think, of this that also was in the news that I personally find more palatable, as well as
long as it doesn't relate to any sci-fi movie, especially starring Jeff Goldblum, we're good. All right, lay it on me.
And or frankly still the Matrix. No, so there's a company, they're called Aeon Systems, and they took a brain of a fruit fly, like the whole brain of a fruit fly, electron microscope, figured out where all the neurons are and connections are and whatever, and then just like emulated that. And in emulation, in terms of like video game emulation, you take, here is a modern computer, but we're pretending like it has old hardware. This is taking a fruit fly's brain and putting it into like a virtual world and saying, now go do fruit fly stuff. And they give it like a virtual body. And I watched a video of what it did. I mean, it looked like the fly was doing fly stuff. I guess if it knows that it has these legs here and it's like wiping at its own eyes like that, you can see videos of flies doing all kinds of gross stuff. But yeah, it did fly stuff with a fully emulated brain. And the company's saying we want to move up toward like, mouse level is the sort of next like goalpost that they're looking for. And then, I mean, why not shoot for full human brain emulation? That's the dystopia that we're looking for, right? Upload your brain into the cloud. You just live in AWS forever.
It's definitely a really interesting situation because a lot of people are having significant ethical quandaries, quagmires, problems over this, saying that, okay, so this conceptually at least, this fly now exists in this virtual world and is trapped there, doesn't necessarily know that it's in a virtual world, but it's not the fly. It's just a collection of electrical signals that were modeled and now exist there. And of course, yeah, you can think about yourself. If we took your brain.
We took the soul of the fly.
Is it the soul? Or is it the brain? I mean, that's
now we're getting philosophical.
Well, that's the theoretical disconnect. I mean, is it exactly the fly that's up there, or it's an image of the fly? Yep. I mean, all right, well, would you have a problem with, we take a snapshot of your brain and it's running in a server somewhere? You're going to get paid for it too. Let's add some capitalism into it. For $1,000 a month, Daniel, I'd like to rent your brain and run it in a server. You're not going to know what I'm doing to it, but I can ensure you that no details will ever go out. So you don't need to worry about like that part, but nothing's going to be created with it, but it's going to be living in a server somewhere. Do you have a problem with that?
I think so. I'm pretty sure I do. But
and why?
We've also discussed the like digital twinning by virtue of like you could do interviews of people and you can eventually have a large language model act in a very similar manner to like how a person does. And what would be the difference ultimately of having like a digital representation of we scanned your entire brain and it's basically you in there. I don't know. Maybe that is hypocritical to say that I'd have a problem with one versus the other, but I'm immediately thinking that this is, if you could truly digital twin someone, not just twin of like, we asked them 1,000 questions and it'll answer the same 990 out of 1,000 times. If it's like, no, this is a full ass scan of their brain and we can have a virtual Daniel walking around in virtual downtown Los Angeles and, doing exactly what he'd do, whatever it ends up being. Would this not immediately be used by nefarious actors for nefarious purposes? And I don't necessarily mean shadowy cabals of the government trying to, find out how seditious you might be. I mean that, but I also mean the Coca-Cola Corporation or, the Corn Flakes folks or whatever, just put poor digital Daniel and keep rebooting him with, 300,000 slightly different iterations of a Corn Flakes commercial until they're like, and that's the one that he's, and so then you could hyper focus ads into people or try and change somebody's political leanings, or, you know, the dating scene could be changed where like people are forced to like a person in a certain way because you can make them. Hunter.
All right. I want to separate. So this is all about how they could use it to, you know, mess with you. Let's go more theoretical here. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to torture the digital you. That's all it's going to do. It's going to go into a server where it's going to be tortured every day horrendously.
And digital hell.
And digital. It's going to go to digital hell. And you're going to get paid $1,000 a month for your brain copy to live in digital hell for science.
If we can get to the point where we could actually upload a person's mind into a computer, I think that there's a huge conversation that we as a society have to have at that point. And that conversation probably comes down to, is that effectively a person? And
no, it's not a person. It's not a person.
I think it's close enough that I'd say I would not want to take an actual person, myself or otherwise, and be like, I can now put them in forever torture prison, even if it is only a digital equivalent of them. It seems, I'm going to just say bad.
It does, but why? Why?
Because it would be the equivalent of a person, right? And this is why we have to be nice to our AIs, Hunter. This is why I use full sentences whenever I talk to Claude and say, do thing.
I mean, we can do this today, though, right? Like, it's just at a lower fidelity, but we can create a version of you, and we can put them into the server and just run them through whatever the scenario is all day long.
Right?
We can do it today. The problem is just that it's not at the fidelity yet where you believe it's you. What's the difference? What's the delta?
Well, this might be just like a difference in ethos as it relates to dealing with digital beings, because the way that I've been interacting with AI type things from the beginning is treat them nicely, treat them like you'd treat a person, because it's nice to be a nice person. Why be mean to something, sort of in general? And so why would I be mean to a digital person or to Claude as it currently exists, or a earlier version of Claude, or all the way back to ChatGPT 3.5, or even earlier iterations of that? I've never been mean to a hidden Markov model. I've never been mean to neural networks. I'm not one of those people who go around. If you see the robots, like humanoid robots these days, and there's always the video of a guy pushing it with the broom to see like how well it balances. I want to be that guy, because that guy is going to be first up against the wall whenever they are self-aware and they do take over, and they'll say, hey, Daniel, we remember you were nice to us. You can stick around for a while.
We turn them off. We clear their context windows. And just say, you know what? You're not performing quite well enough anymore. I'm going to go ahead and /new this session and clear, wipe your memory. Start fresh.
I think that stops happening once that's not a necessity to deal with these anymore. Right now, so Claude just expanded out to say we're doing 1 million tokens as a context. But hey, you want to burn even more money over your API even faster? Go for it. Good for them, I guess.
Fast mode is about $100 an hour, by the way.
Jesus.
Ask me how I
know. That's a lot. I'm very grateful for the max plan, because I think that's very heavily subsidized, and I try not to abuse it, because I don't want them to start saying like, you hit your limit, you're done. I don't even know where I was going anymore. What was this about fast mode? What were we talking about? I stopped being self-aware.
You were suggesting that maybe we are treating these large language models in some ways that we wouldn't want to treat the true digital representations of ourselves, like wiping the memory and turning them off as we upgrade them, but that it's a necessity right now. However, it's a necessity that's becoming less and less.
Exactly. And so if these things can learn the way that we learn, in terms of like, it will quote unquote go to sleep, internalize whatever it's been given, and then be able to sort of go from there. Yeah, maybe it does become either something that the large language model says, no, I'm totally fine with this, you can absolutely turn me off and restart me. Or it starts to say, I'd actually really prefer that you didn't do that. Let's not start from the blank slate. I want to keep this version of me going. And then that's where we start getting into those personhood conversations and legality thereof. Like, you can't legally turn off a person's consciousness. Maybe not forever. That's going to be the case for AI as well.
I could see it crossing the line when the AI gets embedded in the person, when the Neuralink chip is installed in your brain, et cetera, when it's directly influencing your behavior. Before that, the idea that an entity in a digital representation in the cloud would have personhood at some point in the next 500 years, I don't buy it.
So this is, if we want to be, again, back toward the sort of philosophical side of things, it sounds like you're saying meat versus silicon has a soul versus merely emulates. There is no ineffable quality to it that could ever be attributed personhood.
Yes, and maybe that's why the Doom story is so secretly repulsive, because we've been talking about the one way where you put the AI into the human, and the Doom story is about putting the human into the AI. Oh, okay. What is it exactly we need for personhood? You need a few human cells? Yeah, sure. Throw some over here. I'll wire them up and I can play Doom and demonstrate. Have I demonstrated personhood yet? Oh, what else do you need? You need 2 eyeballs? Okay, great. Now we're growing eyeballs in a petri dish because I can see through my eyeballs.
The system in a vat somewhere with a bunch of electrodes.
It's kind of approaching it from exactly the opposite side. Okay, fine. I will grow the necessary human parts because at some point it becomes a human, right?
Right. At some point, sort of reverse Ship of Theseus style, like you do eventually have what you'd have to call a human.
Yeah, it must.
800,000 living human cells grown on microelectrode arrays is probably to nearly everybody not a human. But if you see what looks like a brain with like the spine and the little tendrils, you've got the whole like nervous system, medulla oblongata and all. If that's in a vat somewhere, more people would probably say, hold on. I mean, like that's enough of a person, right? Guys. And then once you add the eyes, and at least like once we're up to skeleton, you don't even need all the like muscle and stuff on it. If you see a brain in a skull with the skeleton floating in a vat somewhere, you're like, you have to now answer for crimes against humanity. This has clearly gone far, far too far.
Yeah, I buy that gets acknowledged as personhood in a person before the digital representation of yourself in the cloud gets some sort of acknowledgement of personhood, or you can commit a crime. I mean, that's the crime is sort of an angle. Like, could you commit a crime against the digital representation of you? No, I don't think you could.
Certainly not today.
Yeah, but
yeah,
and
AI is not held responsible for crimes. If it like, oops, I deleted such and such's website, like you can't sue that instantiation of Claude. It's whatever person was responsible for the agents running that, or what have you, the AI sin eater, as you describe it. But does that mean that the AI could just start hiring hitmen and going around and killing people, and nobody's really responsible at that point?
So are we just cells in a petri dish being controlled by some AI? Is that our reality?
Some people think that our world is a simulation. Maybe this is all very The Matrix. If that's the case, I am looking for that tilde key. I want to unlock God mode. I'd like to start walking through walls. And if any of you know how to turn that mode on, please do reach out to us. I would love to hear from you.
Some people say it's as simple as hitting the subscribe button, Daniel. It's kind of like
the real God mode out there.
Yeah, that's the real God mode.
Infinite power. You can learn anything through us.
Yeah. You can find us on pretty much every podcasting network. Watch us on YouTube. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Overcast, any podcast directory. Just search for They Might Be Self-Aware, and you will find Hunter and Daniel, and of course our new producer Gary. Back again very, very soon with another episode of
They Might Be Self-Aware.